Surprise, surprise, the Grinch came early this year. The market had one of its biggest sell-offs that it has seen in some time. In today's episode, we're going to explain why this is happening, what to expect going forward, and some important things to know for tomorrow. The market is really starting to heat up right now. VIX is moving to the upside in a way that we haven't seen in a while. And in the past, anytime the VIX has moved like it is now, has always meant some very crazy moves. Like I said, we have a lot to talk about today, so if you decide to watch any video to the end this week, this one is the one to make sure to watch to the end. But with that being said, Tom, let's get right into it.
Yeah, Mike, definitely. And with today's price action, the market actually ended up tanking down quite a bit. But I will say early on this morning, it actually ripped up in a pretty good way, ran up to new yearly highs with the SPY, but then ended up falling down, breaking support at 373.50, which we talked about yesterday as being pretty key support. And Mike, I will say, I did not expect it to get down as low as it did, down around 467.50 down there. That break today was at 473.50. That's a pretty big move to the downside. Now, a lot of people might be saying, what is going on right now? To me, it's a snowball effect. You're seeing the SPY falling down, but other than that, let's go to some key stocks. Let's go to NVIDIA. What level did they reject at today? It's right at the key, $500 resistance. That is a key resistance on NVIDIA. Let's go over to Apple, Mike, one of the biggest stocks in the market. Where did it reject today? Really close to $200 and over the past couple weeks. So there's a lot of stocks right now at key resistance, and they are rejecting off. NVIDIA is one of the big players that broke below a pretty key trend line here. So I'm looking at stocks to the downside right now. Now, obviously, this is coming at it as a bit of surprise, right? The Bears, or I should say the Bulls, have been killing it lately. The Bears are starting to finally come out of hibernation in just the right time of winter, right? Right as we're about to hit the new time of the year. But that was a pretty nasty drop today, Mike, and VIX is definitely exploding to the upside, creating a lot of short-term opportunity here.
So here's one thing I want to cover for a second here, and that is the heat map from today. What you'll notice today is that it was literally a sea of red. Over the past month or so, whenever we saw red days, you would see some stocks in the red and some stocks in the green, but at the end of the day, it would be A-okay, right? Where with today's price action, almost every stock in the S&P 500 was red, and some of the most important stocks were red by like a pretty decent amount. I mean, NVIDIA was down by 3% today. Tesla was down by 4%, and other stocks were also down quite a bit. So what's interesting going into right now is it's not like we're seeing one or two stocks drag down the market. It's kind of like, oh God, everything's falling, right? And that's something that we haven't seen in a while. And quite frankly, you shouldn't be surprised about it. I mean, the market over the past month and a half or so has literally rallied by, over 15%. That's crazy. So it's to see pullbacks is not only a normal thing in the market, but it's also healthy because, what's the alternative? Just to have the market make a new all-time high every single day? That's not sustainable. So this type of price action is normal. And when a lot of people basically look at the news right now, they're looking for some sort of justification, some giant event. And to be honest with you guys, there really wasn't any crazy, star of the show type of event today. Like Tom said, it was kind of like a snowball effect of selling pressure. You had a lot of key stocks at some major resistance points. And then on top of that, you just had some good old-fashioned profit taking, given how much the market's already up. And Tom, we also did have a little bit of a relatively bad news between the U.S. and China as well. Fill us in there.
Yeah, we definitely did. Apparently, President Xi warned Biden during their last summit that Beijing will reunify Taiwan with China at some point. Now, they did not give an exact timeline, but I'm reading through this article, Mike, and they're saying that U.S. military leaders say that Xi plans to take Taiwan in 2025 or 2027. That is extremely soon. Whoever becomes president next is going to have to deal with this issue, it sounds like. So whether it's Trump, whether it's Biden, whether it's I don't know.
Who
Huckabee
knows?
Sanders. I got no idea. It could be Mark Zuckerberg for all I know at this point. But whoever's the next president, they're going to have to really deal with this situation with China. And it's a pretty big situation as well. Like, keep in mind, guys, the Russia-Ukraine situation has already been crazy. China will affect our markets so much more than Ukraine. And I mean, guys, by like 500%, 5,000% maybe. I don't know the exact number, but China affects us that much more than something like Ukraine. So if something goes on with China, we're going to see a lot of bearish price action and just a lot of price action in general, Mike, over the next few years. But I really hope that they don't do this, but it's definitely a big threat from China here. And no wonder the markets had such a big reaction to this, combined with being at resistance on everything. It's like, sheesh, like, it's just like profit taking extravaganza here.
Yeah, so like that's the thing. Like you said, like, conflict with China is never a good thing. And of course the US is like, China, you can't take Taiwan. But then China straight up told Biden at that summit in San Francisco, he said, we're taking Taiwan. Like, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. So clearly it's not the best news, but then again, this news isn't necessarily brand new either. But a lot of times the market, takes some time to actually, react to news. Just like what happened with COVID at the end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020. The market knew about the virus in China a lot sooner than, when the market actually started to fall, like in March, which is when most of the selling actually happened, in like the middle to end of February. So keep that in mind as well. But at the end of the day, the most important thing to realize is that volatility is increasing. What we're seeing right now is very good for short-term traders if you can manage your risk and you can position yourself correctly. It's better to see the market move in one direction or the other, rather than have the market sit there and do absolutely nothing and move up or down by 0.05%. Now, it's all about positioning yourself in the right way. And that's what we'll talk about in a couple minutes. But before we get into that, we also have to talk about the VIX price action right now. So ticker symbol VIX, basically what this represents is kind of like a fear gauge for the market. When this shoots up, it means everyone's panicking and the market is expected to be more volatile and crazy going forward. VIX has been at its lowest point basically since like the very early days of 2020. Now it's finally starting to shoot back up right now, and why this is important is because, one, you don't see this very often, but also two, it actually has like a real world impact, and it tells you straight up that, the quote unquote smart money is literally expecting the market to be more volatile right now. That's why we're seeing the VIX shoot up. So if we continue to see the VIX shoot up even more, the price action we saw today will be nothing compared to what's to come.
I know, right? And it was up 9.11% today on the VIX. And we go look at the SPY, and that break below support was huge. There was a lot of other stocks rejecting off of their resistances lately as well. And whenever I think about the market falling down, Mike, VIX is one of the first stocks that I start to look at that moves up. I mean, obviously, it's the volatility index. It generally goes up against the SPY. Look at the strong negative correlation in the bottom right-hand side of your guys' screen. If you guys see this often, it means that these stocks generally go up when the SPY goes down. So, Mike, I will definitely be keeping my eyes on UVXY over the next couple and few weeks. I mean, it's up 8.97% today as a negative 0.93 correlation to the SPY, and it had a great day today. Now, can it continue up tomorrow? A lot of people might look at SPY and they might say, well, Tom, it fell down a ton today. It's going to rip up tomorrow at open. It might, and it might run up, might test resistance, but I'll be real with you, Mike. With the way NVIDIA looks at these key resistances like $500 and etc., I could see a lot more downside movement in the short term. And I hate to be overly bearish because whenever the price action sets up for bullish opportunities, I've been really bullish lately. I've been looking at Tesla to the upside a lot lately as it's broken a lot of these key resistances and a lot of key trend lines. But man, after that move today, it definitely has me worried about a lot of stocks coming back down here.
Exactly. So, with that being said, let's get right into the fun stuff for today, which will be some setups going forward. And the first stock that I'm watching is SMH, and it's to the downside. So, basically, what this is a bunch of chip stocks all in one ETF, right? So basically, as this moves down, so do the chip stocks that we talk about all the time. And a lot of these chip stocks have just been so overbought and so overextended, where they are definitely overdue for a pullback. And I am definitely not in the camp of, oh, the market's going to crash and burn and it's going to be the end of the world, blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, it is not unreasonable to say that the market can pull back more after it literally went straight up for like almost 2 months straight, and it's up by 15%. So it's not unreasonable to see the market pull back more. So long story short, I'm looking at SMH to the downside, and I think it is presenting a great risk to reward setup here.
Yeah, and I mean, Mike, like, I love SMH to the upside as much as everybody. Like, I look at these trend lines, I look at these channels that have been breaking out lately on these stocks, and these breakouts have been fantastic. And I mean, guys, from a technical charting standpoint, or a technical analysis standpoint, using charting, like, what are we doing right now? We're breaking the yearly highs, in some cases, all-time highs, and we're seeing these stocks really continue up. Now, look at how far this stock has extended out of the channel. I could definitely see some pullbacks coming in as well, Mike. I will keep my eyes on IWM to the downside, or I mean SMH, to the downside. I keep talking about IWM recently with the Russell because that one also had a pretty rough day in its own right. But my first stock today is a chip stock itself. So that's why SMH to me is so important, is NVIDIA is actually breaking a key trend line to the downside. I talked about this yesterday. It broke the trend line. Today, it failed to break above $500. If you guys watch the live stream today, you better know exactly what I'm talking about. Comment down below how you guys feel about NVIDIA and their price action today. It was a fantastic break of support. I hope some of you guys caught this move because, man, it was quite the move to the downside, Mike. Now, I will say I did not expect it to fall down to 482. I was kind of targeting like 490, 491, but holy sheesh, Mike. I mean, to see this thing fall down this much and just all these other stocks, that was quite the sell-off today. Like, something gave out in the stock market. I think these supports finally, hit the bed a little bit.
Uh-oh. All right. Another setup I'm watching for tomorrow is Netflix, and it is also to the downside. This stock is wildly overbought, and it is also very close to a resistance level, a key one that is, right around $500 a share. There has been a lot of selling pressure at that level, and on top of that, the market itself is kind of turning over. So again, I really like the risk to reward with this one to the downside, and I'll definitely have some close eyes on it going into tomorrow and over the next couple weeks.
It's crazy, Mike. Whether it's NVIDIA, whether it's Apple, whether it's Tesla, it seems like everything's hitting it right on key resistance at the moment. Netflix is just another one right at 500, rejecting back down. I'll definitely keep my eyes on that one tomorrow as well. And with my next one, I'm going with Tesla again, Mike. We've talked about this on Bookmap a ton the past couple of nightly videos. And guys, look at that key, 260 resistance, guys. There is now 320,000 shares stacked up there. Yesterday, we saw a $91 million share count stacked up at 260. Guess what? Today, it ran up to 260, hit off of it multiple times and failed to break out and ran off to the downside. Now, Mike, that is one hell of a sell-off on Tesla's chart here. I'm not saying that Bookmap necessarily, told me to buy puts, right? But hey, I used it to my advantage, and we had a good level that we've been looking at the past few days. It got up there today. It hit off resistance. There was a ton of opportunity to short this to the downside today. Whether you're playing the support break at 255, whether you're playing the resistance touch at 260, there was a lot of opportunity on Tesla, Nvidia, and multiple others using the book map today. Nvidia at 500 was even huge. So, Mike, Nvidia has been very helpful lately. Book maps been very helpful, showing us these great levels. And I love to see Tesla rejecting at 260 again. I will be looking at it back down tomorrow below 246.
All righty, good stuff there. And with that being said, Tom, let's jump right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. And with the first one, we have a firm to the downside, which is something that we haven't seen out of this stock too much lately, because this thing has been on a pretty crazy uptrend.
Yeah, it kind of failed to break today. It broke the high of day yesterday barely and ran up by like 30 cents and then fell right back down to around $45. So if they break below 45 tomorrow, go ahead and look at puts. That'll be right below recent support.
All right, with the next one, we have Starbucks also to the downside.
SBUX. Yeah, Mike, Starbucks has been pretty rough this year. It's made me kind of sad, to be honest. But if they break below $94 even, then I'll look at puts.
All right, and then with the last one, we have GLD for both directions.
GLD, yeah, they've been really kind of flat the past couple days, but falling off today and after hours. If they break below 187.50, then go ahead and look at those puts to the downside. Now, if they end up breaking above 189.90, honestly, I'd make it just break 190 at that point. Then go ahead and look at calls, but you can see that upper range there on the chart I'm marking in blue.
All right, so we have that upside level for GLD. If it breaks above that, we're watching it up. And then we have the downside level as well, not only for GLD, but also for Starbucks and Affirm. So keep a close eye on these three stocks heading into tomorrow. They are only plays if they break the levels Tom listed. But Tom, it is now about that time for today's big money trade of the day, and it's I don't know, maybe we'll call it some huge money today, because it was a $10.5 million trade with IVV. So for those of you who don't know, IVV is very similar to SPY. More specifically, the big money traded the 470 strike put options that expire on February 16th of 2024. This is a $10.5 million put trade. It was just opened today. Clearly, they're pretty bearish on the market if they're making this trade. One thing worth noting is that setups like these can be trades like some hedge fund is, buying these put options because they think the market will fall, or it can be a trade where maybe some giant institution or some, multi-billionaire or someone just with a bunch of shares and exposure to the overall market is buying these put options because they want to protect themselves in the event the market sells off further. But either way, it's definitely a bearish trade, and it's been a while since our last $10 million plus big money play, Tom.
It really has, Mike. And whenever I see this initially, I see iShares Core S&P. Like, what does that mean, Mike? Does that mean that they don't hold food or energy? We always talk about core inflation, not having food or energy, but this is a very interesting ETF here. And as I look through it, it generally follows the SPY for the most part. And whenever I go out and I look at the SPY itself, what's it doing? It's kind of double topping at these all-time highs. I'm really worried about IVV also double topping, and we see that all-time high sitting there right around 480, right around the SPY's all-time high. So I will keep watching this one down, Mike. That is a very interesting put play. $10 million. We don't always see that, and this is coming in right at an all-time high. So guys, I want you to keep this in mind. We're seeing this big money play. We're seeing Tesla reject at 260. We're seeing Apple reject at 200. We're seeing a ton of other plays like Netflix rejecting at 500. So there is a bunch of setups right now starting to reject back to the downside. So keep your eyes on these $10 million puts. If the market goes down for a couple more days, these puts will be up a very significant amount. Mike, off 10 million bucks, I mean, if this gets to 460 in the short term, we're talking like they could be up anywhere from 20 to 30% on 10 million bucks, which is insane, if not even more, if the market goes, more drastic.
Exactly. So keep a close eye on this one going into the next couple of weeks. But Tom, I'm very excited about this volatility. There will be a lot of opportunities going forward. Volatility increasing is a good thing. And as some people have learned today, the market doesn't only go up. Some days you have a red day sprinkled in there, and it especially shouldn't be surprising after a 15% uptrend in this short of a time frame with the market. But I'm excited. You all should be very excited as well. Tom, do you have any final thoughts or anything else on your mind before we close out?
Yeah, like Mike, like you've been saying, like we've been talking about this uptrend a lot over the past couple weeks, and we've been kind of reiterating that it's very important not to get stuck up here at highs, right? Because these downtrends can, what do they say, Mike? The market takes the staircase up and the elevator down. Look at that elevator today. It wiped out like 3 days, almost like 2 weeks worth of price action, honestly. So be very careful going forward, guys. The market is at unprecedented levels, being towards these all-time highs. And Mike, I just wanted to also say the Discord has been popping off a lot lately, and we have a live event tonight. So guys, make sure to check in on that at 9 p.m. Eastern time. We will be going live in the Discord, so make sure to be there. Submit your questions tonight if you're in the trading floor.
Exactly. So yeah, tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern time, we have a live event. It's one of our favorite things each week. Basically, we have a bunch of members join up. We answer questions live and talk about the market. It's always a great time. If you want in, definitely check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. It'll be a great time. But besides that, thank you guys so much for watching, and let's end the week on a great note.